Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Taming. Welcome to first look of Riders of Icarus, a new MMO that is coming out into open beta. First of all, I want to thank Nexon America for giving me access and giving me time to play around on a PTR or like a test round server so I could see what the game is like. If you see a lack of players, it is because I am probably one of the only people out there even playing the game at all, so please do forgive me if there's a lack of players. The game is going to be a lot more populated by the time it goes live. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and jump right into the game, and we're going to cover every little criteria how I did before with Phantasy Star Online 2. I'm going to try to stick to the format as best as possible, but the format can always evolve in the future, so we'll see what happens. First of all, we'll start with character creation and classes, since this is the first thing that we got to go into in the game. So far, the character creation I thought was pretty impressive. You have a lot of customizable options in order to customize your character. You cannot make grotesque or odd looking characters. You can certainly create very strange looking creatures for certain, but overall the character customization is very in-depth and very good because it has a lot of sliders and a lot of preset options to choose from the start, although the slider options are available in case you want to get very precise into it and customize every possible aspect of your character. Riders of Icarus offers 5 classes in total, and none of the classes are general locked. The classes are Berserker, a two-handed DPS warrior, Guardian, a sword and board tank, Assassin, DPS character, Priest, a healing class, and Wizard, a ranged DPS class. While the lack of classes is pretty certain, I am hoping that maybe, since this game is still in beta, more classes will be added in the future to add variety and different playstyles for players in the future. What I like about the game so far is that from the start it lets you choose to do either tap targeting or action camera mode. Action camera mode is suggested for melee characters and tap targeting is suggested for ranged characters. I've tried out the action camera mode. Some of it was a little buggy and definitely needs some work, but overall it's pretty solid and was pretty enjoyable to play as a Berserker. Berserker is one of the easier classes to play, and that's probably why I had the easiest time playing it. But I heard that Assassin and Guardian gets a little wonkier to play if you have the action camera mode, as the action camera mode doesn't always target the enemy that is right in front of you, and sometimes you have to angle yourself perfectly in order to highlight the opponent. I heard a lot of players switch over to tap targeting, but so far as a Berserker, action mode was pretty solid and I highly enjoyed it. Granted, it is an easy class, I probably should have played something a little more difficult like a Wizard. Nevertheless, it was still pretty fun to play as a Berserker to try out the game. Now let's go into graphics for the game. The game is running on CryEngine, and I gotta say, this is one of the prettiest looking MMOs out there that is running on CryEngine to date. The graphics are a cross between realism and stylized. Some aspects feel very realistic, such as animal fur, while others feel very fantasy-like, such as orc creatures and other fantastical creatures that the game offers, including unicorn. Yes, the game even has a unicorn. The spell effects and attacks look really cool and have cool little streaks and particle effects that accompany them. And aside from some model and texture popping, the game looks really gorgeous. Granted, I am running this game on a GTX 980 and I'm currently running this on Ultra, so it depends on your graphics card, but your game may look better or may look worse depending on what your graphical settings are set on. I've not tried the lower settings, but I've been running the game on Ultra, so what you're seeing right here is the extent of how the graphics will be. Do keep in mind that the game currently has some texture and model popping that happens, as you get closer to certain objects, the amount of polygons they have and the textures on them actually pop in rather than fade in. I hope this can be fixed in the future, but nevertheless, this is the only technical issue that I've noticed so far about the game. The UI is pretty out of the way, and I've actually really enjoyed it. I do have some concerns regarding it. Most of them are bug concerns. Whenever I play with an action camera, sometimes the reticle, the action camera aim reticle, would actually get stuck to the mouse, so it would actually move wherever I move the mouse rather than stay in the center and rotate the camera with me. This was fixed by going to standard and then back to action camera mode, but since the game is still in beta, I'm pretty sure this can be fixed in the future. Otherwise, I was hoping maybe the nameplates would be a little fancier. I felt, although they were pretty straightforward, I felt they were a little plain and didn't fit the art style of the rest of the UI, such as the hotbars. I felt they could be a little better stylized in order to fit the art style, but if they stay plain like this, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, to be honest. The only other feature I'd like to see regarding the UI is the ability to scale it. As far as I understand, players are allowed to customize and redesign their HUD in the UI in-game already as is. The sounds for the game are pretty good, the music has been great, voice acting seems to be pretty spot on. I've so far never had a problem with any of the audio files and nothing has really glitched before. The only time I had problem was when I was in Capital City and it felt like the music was constantly changing depending on which area I was entering, and it felt like there were several phasing areas that made the music change within the Capital City. Other than that, I felt the music was pretty solid and the sound effects were pretty spot on. The combat, depending on how you play, whether you play with the action camera or tap targeting, is pretty good. The combat, especially for Berserker, has a lot of combos, which means when you use one attack, sometimes it will give you a follow-up button to press so you can have another follow-up attack follow along. For Berserker, and I'm pretty sure for other classes, the attacks go as follows. You either have combo attacks or you have charge-up attacks. Combo attacks, you just press one after another and it modifies your regular auto attack or your regular ability that you use. For Berserker, I either swung with heavy swings or with light swings and it helped me build up more resource points. For charge-up attacks, I could actually hold down the button to charge it up to be stronger and then release it for a higher impact and bigger AoE field attack. It became very handy when fighting big time bosses because I could actually do a lot more damage if I held down a button, charged it up and then released it for a higher hit and possibly a higher crit chance. It also worked really well against multiple enemies in front of me, which allowed me to crowd control them or knock them down temporarily in order to reduce damage that I was receiving. Overall, it felt pretty solid to play as a Berserker. Granted, Berserker is all about its straight up DPS with very easy abilities and mechanics. Granted, I did play one of the easiest classes in the game. I highly enjoyed it and I would recommend any newcomer that would like to get into the game to try out Berserker. If the action camera does not work out for you, I would suggest switching over to tap targeting, as I feel like the game was originally designed in mind for tap targeting. It feels like the tap targeting version of the game is a little more polished out than the action camera, but like I said, the game is still in open beta and that can always be adjusted in the future. As somebody who plays games that both have action camera and tap targeting, I personally don't mind which one works best, as long as they both are pretty well polished out and the player has a choice between one or the other. The game has a very strong narrative, and I could feel it from the very start when I first started playing the game. It has really good cinematics, has pretty decent voice acting, really good animations, and feels like the game really focuses on telling a story and telling a narrative rather than having a player just play in this giant open world sandbox and just gain levels. The game goes up to level 40, which makes sense why I was leveling so slowly. I got up to level 12 and decided to stop right there for the recordings, but it actually felt really fun to play the game. I felt like I had to do a lot of the side quests in order to keep up with the level curve, but it wasn't that big of a deal. While you adventure and do quests, there are a lot of side mechanics to do that actually make up the core of Riders of Icarus, and that is mount taming. In Riders of Icarus, you have a mechanic where you can tame mounts. You have to first get yourself ready to jump on a mount, jump up to it, and then try to tame it using the WASD keys and play a little taming minigame. There is a possible chance you will fall off the mount and fail the minigame, so all you have to do is just jump back on it and try again. Apparently the taming mechanic is similar to Dragon's Prophet, but as somebody who never played Dragon's Prophet, I wouldn't know it, but I've heard several people say that the mechanic is very similar to Dragon's Prophet taming mechanic. In Riders of Icarus, you can tame ground mounts and flying mounts. Any mounts that you don't want to have as a rideable companion, you can turn into a battle companion to actually fight with you. You can level them up and get them to earn special abilities to fight in combat. Apparently at a certain point you can also start doing mount combat, but I've never gotten to that point before, so I couldn't really experience it. I did hear that it's really fun. One of the first weapons you get is a giant crossbow that you can fire from enemies from ranged, which is really cool. And you can fight while mounted as well, which is also another cool concept. It makes me consider leveling all the way through to max level and trying out the endgame content. With mount combat, I could imagine raids and PvP being a lot more exciting than just running around and doing mechanics on the ground. With mounted combat, you can do a lot of aerial mechanics such as fight giant aerial beasts in order to try to tame them or defeat them for shiny loot. And that is a kind of concept that is very titillating and exciting and makes me want to possibly go all the way through to max level to see what the endgame content is going to be like. So far I was not able to run around and do the endgame content, but I was able to check out the game and get a first look impression of what it's like. And so far, it looks like a pretty solid game. Aside from the main criteria of the game and its main mechanic, I did enjoy the capital cities. Not for how big they are, but how immersive they feel. The main capital city that was able to enter was very big and immersive and had all these little areas that players could actually walk inside, and it felt really cool to see this kind of things all over the place. There were multiple vendors and crafting profession trainer areas that you could actually enter inside to hone your professions, get materials, or get gear or vendor items. It felt pretty cool to walk around the city and see a bunch of shops that you could actually enter inside or vendors that were walking around outside. I also saw a lot of quest notice boards, which made me feel that maybe possible players could get some daily rewards or daily quests out of those in the future. The capital cities even have a place for guild halls and mount training areas for players to hone those skills, training different mounts, or practice taming mounts. Overall, the aesthetical feel of the city felt really cool, and aside from texture popping, felt really immersive, and I couldn't wait to see what it would feel like with a lot of players running around. I tried out some crafting professions as part of a questline, and it seems like crafting is pretty straightforward, and one of my favorite crafting professions so far has been the ability to craft armor for your mount. And yes, you can technically craft gear for your mounts in order to have them right in battle with you. You can craft gear that makes them a little faster, have a little bit more health, or just make them a lot stronger in mountain combat. The flying mechanics in Riders of Icarus so far have been superb. Riders of Icarus is supposed to have hundreds upon hundreds of different mounts and possibly exotic mounts that you can tame in the future. Anything from giant falcon birds to dragons, flying beasts of all sorts that players can eventually tame in the future. The mounted combat is promising and feels like it could be really nicely done for endgame content. I have not personally participated in a raid yet so far, but I've seen several videos of people attempting flying mount raids. So far the mechanics for bosses don't seem to be too complex, but I'm hoping that evolves and becomes more complex and more interesting as more raids get added or as more raids get modified to be a little harder. What I also would love to see that I haven't seen so far is PvP content. Seeing two armies just gallop at each other or fly at each other with mounted combat, engage in this mounted crusade and clashing of forces would be really cool to see in the future. Now, for my final verdict, would I recommend others to try this game out? Yes, this game is going to be open beta on July 6th, so whenever that time is around, go on Steam and try to see if you can get the game yourself and give it a try. Thank you Next on America for giving me a try at this game. I highly enjoyed it. I would like to see what kind of endgame content the game will offer. Nevertheless, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you liked this first look. I want to try to bring these first looks back as I have some MMOs that I would like to check out, including some of the popular ones out there. Hope you enjoyed the video. My name is Tamriel. Like, subscribe, and as always, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next first look of an MMO. Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Tamriel. Welcome to Hello, what have we got here? Hello ladies, how's it going? Breasts as a treasure thing that I kinda wanna say you could dress better.